Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Our special guest today is Willie Stewart, Director of the Possibilities Program at the East Campus of Loma University Medical Center. Willie is a phenomenal athlete. He's participated 4 times in the World Championship of the Ironman and came in first in his category one of those 4 times. He's participated in the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon. He's participated in a number of sporting events all around the world. And recently I noticed that Robin Williams mentioned him on the David Letterman show, noting that One-Arm Willie beat Lance Armstrong in the New York City Marathon. Willie's participated in all these events with one arm. But Willie, something happened a number of years ago that dramatically changed your life. You were a young man. Tell us what happened.
You know, I was 18 years old and I was working on the Watergate building in Washington, D.C.
We've heard about the Watergate. So.
And I got my arm cut off in a cooling tower. And it was definitely a life-changing experience at that point. And I kept consciousness and ran to the hospital down New Hampshire Avenue to George Washington University Medical Center.
So what happened? A rope wrapped around itself and pulled it into a fan? Or?
Yeah, and cleaned everything off to what you see today. And the hand came off and was sitting next to me, and I looked down and I said, whoa, that's my hand.
At 18 years of age?
Yeah, and I was a wrestler going to the University of Maryland, and it was a terrible experience, but also maybe one of the greatest experiences of my life, because at that point, I never really knew life totally. I mean, I think I was arrogant. I don't think I had patience for people. I think I had conceit. And at that moment, when you lost a limb and my life changed dramatically, also at that same time, I crossed paths with my father. And my father was the first person to see me in the hospital, not the hospital, I was in the emergency room, before I was stabilized or anything. And it was a terrible moment, but a great moment. I mean, I found out truly how much a parent loves their child. And a lot of struggle came after that.
Probably became bitter and went through the whole sequence of trying to discover who you are and where you're going to go. We've got a portion of a video here that we're going to take a look at right now.
This is the Xterra World Championship. For many of these competitors, Xterra is more than just a race. It's an affirmation of their character and determination.
I actually did call it quits. I think for about 2 years I did call it quits, and they were the 2 worst years of my life right after I got hurt. A lot of people are cast aside in life, and I was cast aside. I mean, and it's an opportunity. It's like, and I didn't like it. I hate saying this, but I woke up one morning wading through a sea of beer cans to the bathroom, and I'm like, this is pathetic. I mean, I was 19 years old, and I'm like, is this what you want to be? I mean, basically a simple little thing like my bed wasn't made, and I said, you know what? I'm cleaning up my life. I'm going to start with making my bed. People who struggle or have a crisis in their life and realize that inside that crisis is an opportunity. And there's nothing like hitting rock bottom and bouncing. And once you're there, you open up a whole new world of tolerance, of empathy, because we're all in the same boat together, basically.
See you guys.
And it's Willie Stewart who is, as always, beating the odds. And heading toward the finish, Willie Stewart is making believers out of the dozens of runners he's passing. Out of over 430 competitors who finished, Willie Stewart had the 44th fastest time in the run, and he finishes with a smile on his face.
Willie tell us, about your journey here to Loma Linda? That's a phenomenal story, but there's a lot of chapters behind that. Tell us about your journey here to Loma Linda.
I was one of those people. I was doing fairly well in sports after I lost my arm, and I started feeling
What kind of sports were you involved in?
I was a rugby player of all things, but I still had this empty feeling. And then what happened was, I felt like I was gaining success through sports, but I wasn't gaining personal value or giving back. And I started working with the disabled in Colorado, and I basically just helped someone on a ski lift. And by helping that one person with a disability on a ski lift, I realized it was helping me. And slowly but surely, after 10 years of running ski schools in Colorado, my wife gets accepted here to Loma Linda as a student, a medical student. And I ended up coming here and ended up working and creating a program with the help of many fine people in this community called Possibilities. And Possibilities basically is what I was doing almost for 20 years now, of helping other people get back in life and find the value of life. And it was really important to me to be able to help others. And there's one thing about helping yourself and acquiring riches or celebrity and fame. There's another thing when you can help other people. And that simple act of helping someone on a ski lift changed my life, and it gave me personal value. And then I knew that I was wanted and needed, and the person said thank you. And I fed from that from this day on, and I hope to be doing this until I go to my grave. This is the kind of stuff I love to do. And it enhances me that I get a microphone because I do well in sports, but it also enhances me that I can change someone's life by giving them or doing something that helps them back from a traumatic injury. And
so you're dealing with people that have gone through all kinds of traumatic injuries and helping them build hope and creating a future for them?
Yeah, I mean, face it, when I got hurt, I felt I was worthless. I felt girls wouldn't like me. I couldn't do things. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't like who I was. I wouldn't even go out in the daytime. I was frightened to go out in the daytime because I didn't like how I looked. And I also
even though you're a strong athlete.
Yeah, and I knew that my mother and father, my brothers and sisters in my community, when I got hurt, they were hurt. And when I healed, they healed. And my whole thing was, if I can take that edge off of people who are getting hurt today and suffering through these traumatic injuries and realize there is hope in life after injury. And we are a better society and a better community when we include everybody. But the disabled population for years they lose hope and lose faith. And I gained strength from bringing them back into the light, so to speak. And here at Loma Linda and at the East Campus Hospital, that's where Possibilities was created. And since then, we have over 800 members, and we've helped dozens and dozens of people besides just the member, their family, and I hope we're improving our community.
Well, I think we've got a couple of pictures we want to take a look at regarding the Possibilities program, and we'll look at them and then you can comment on them.
April 30th, 2006, 7 a.m., over 800 people took off at one time. Ages from 4 years old to over 80 participated in this year's Possibilities Triathlon. We had world-class disabled athletes here like Akian. 4 years ago, lost his legs in a motorcycle accident, and now has come back this year to race the Possibilities Triathlon, and he'll be headed to Ironman World Championships in October wearing the Team Possibilities uniform. We also had Han Nguyen, who's joined the Possibilities team just recently. His goal is to race the World Championships. We have beginner athletes like Trudy, who was a patient here over 20 years ago and saw the billboard of Possibilities on the side of the road and competed in her first triathlon ever. Another great athlete was Brianna Walker. This is her first time ever attempting a triathlon. We had the Tiny Tots Tricycle Triathlon, which was a blast this year. We had over 100 kids racing in the Kids Triathlon. Parents are allowed to go race with their children. You're allowed to use floaties or whatever it takes to get through the course. It's just a great way for the big guys to race with the little guys and everyone to be involved. Jarrett Wareham came and did the race day. He did the kids race. Jarrett is one of our members of Possibilities. Taking on triathlon for his first time is prosthetist Michael Davidson, who works here on the East Campus. Michael has changed the lives of people all over the world. He made the prosthetic leg for Emmanuel, who's featured in Emmanuel's gift. He's made the legs for Rudy, who's been all over the world as an ambassador and statesperson for the disabled athletes. He made the arm for Willie Stewart. And that's what Possibilities is about. It's about taking on challenges and testing yourself and pushing yourself farther than you believe. And it's also looking at other people, realizing that they can do more than you ever perceived. The purpose of the Possibilities Triathlon is to bring awareness to the great program that's right here in our own community. Possibilities changes people's lives. It is a vital part in someone's life after a traumatic injury. Disabled body, disabled heart, disabled mind. Possibilities is about healing the body, healing the heart, healing the mind. Come on, get involved with it. Be part of the change. When you leave the hospital, Possibilities is there for you forever. Possibilities is about taking away excuses. When you see the racers out there racing next to you with no legs or in a wheelchair, what's your excuse? Possibilities Triathlon is about transformation. It changes the lives through sport, community, and bringing people together. Taking on a triathlon is something that will change your life. Taking on a triathlon with a disability is something that will change other people's lives. Prepare to be inspired. For more information on the Possibilities program, go to mypossibilities.com.
Willie, that's a phenomenal program that you've started, and it looks like, if I heard correctly, you had 800 participants in this last one, and I know you're getting ready for another one. And each one of these athletes on there, I'm sure there's a story behind each one of them.
Yeah, and I think that's the neatest thing about the Possibilities Triathlon, because it's amazing for kids, adults, and everyone to be around people with disabilities and realize that we elevate these guys like Barry Bonds and these football players and quarterbacks and everything, but these guys doing these triathlons are role models to the kids, the family, the community, and I love what I do because I get to hang around these people. And the girls, the guys, the kids, and when people see someone missing their legs like Rudy that comes on and does a triathlon, is out there taking on something that difficult, they're like, well, what's your excuse? And we forget how blessed we are with what we're born with.
That's so true.
And sometimes we take what we have and we don't use our blessings, and that's the saddest thing about it. And I think Possibilities sometimes reminds us how lucky we truly are.
Are you working with the entire family or some of the individuals, or?
My whole thing is, and I know when I got hurt, the family got hurt. And when I got better, the family got better. And I thought it was really important to make sure that we talk to the whole family and to let them know there is the hope. There is life after disability. And just because you're disabled doesn't mean you're tossed out. You're different, but you're actually, it's almost a great opportunity to be born again. And it's difficult. But the people I know that have gone through some of the toughest struggles are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. And some of our struggles, we can gain strength from that, and we can share those stories with others. And you'll see people in that video and some of the other things that we do those are the kind of people I want to break bread with those guys. I want them at my table, and I want to share their stories, and hopefully I get it out there.
At what point in their experience are you finding these people? I mean,
Well,
how are they coming to you?
We're right there. We're right next to the inpatient rehab, in between inpatient and outpatient. And the nurses, the doctors, the PTs, the OTs just hand them a flyer. And most of the time, people aren't ready for something like that when they first get hurt. But the parents will look at it, or the mother or the wife will look at it. And then down the road, they'll call, and it's a tough adjustment to know that you went from an able-bodied person to a disabled person. But your heart never changed and your mind never changed, but you look differently. And it's like the food that goes in your mouth really isn't as important as what comes out of your mouth. And you may look different, but what comes out of your mouth and from your heart is really important to me. And I want you to share those stories. And struggle builds character. It's a terrible thing to go through, but I tell you, some of the most interesting, some of the most enlightened people I've ever met in my life are the ones that have struggled the most.
Well, I've participated, but I've usually been a witness at some of these triathlons.
I saw you swimming out there.
And I'll tell you, it's an unbelievable inspiration to see some of the people overcoming not the handicaps, but the challenges they have. I learned quite a while ago that you don't call these handicaps. I mean, they're challenged, but they're just unbelievable in their participation.
Yeah, we're a better society when we mix the pot. And people with disabilities, let's make sure they're out there. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. We've got some more pictures that we want to take a look at, and you can tell us about some of these people. This first young man was a two-armed individual there.
Yeah, and I thought he was a really cool cat at one time, but I tell you, I was fortunate to lose my arm and have my eyes opened. And I was an undefeated wrestler, girls liked me.
And you had a scholarship apparently.
To
to
University of Maryland.
University of Maryland.
I've done things, and I was an undefeated wrestler. I'm in the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame, actually.
Are you really?
And I was a rugby player, went on to 3 national championships, played all over the world. And I was disabled and was the captain of the team. And then these pictures, I was paddling and kayaking at Walter Reed Hospital with a lot of the veterans and on my way to the Grand Canyon. And that arm you'll see there, actually, I broke it in half in the Grand Canyon. And
I know there's an article that came out recently in Reader's Digest that featured you, and it did talk about you being way over your head.
That arm there is pretty rad. That's made by our prosthetist here at Loma University Medical Center, and that thing is one of a kind. And then I've actually have 7 Ironmans under my belt now, and I've got 4 different world championships. And I run fairly fast, they say.
2:41.
Yeah,
Bam.
for a marathon, and it's Ironman this year. And I've skied all over the world. I represent the United States and Japan, Norway, and Salt Lake. I won a silver medal. And that's Ironman. Not bad for a one-armed guy swimming 2.5 miles and came out in the middle of the pack.
And when you talk about this Ironman, you're talking about what are the events? You got 3 events.
26-mile, well, it's a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a 26-mile run. And it's interesting because, Ironman is tough, and it allowed, I think people forget that what an opportunity to do that. But you get people come out of a race and they'll be upset and all this. I'm like, folks, do you know how many people are sitting at home that can't do this or will never have the opportunity to do this or are too disabled to do this, that would they would change everything in their life to do it? You need to go out and tell people how fortunate you are to get to do what you do and spread the message that you get to do this, and there's many people in life that are left behind. Let's bring them into life. After I had my disability, I got to the White House twice with President Clinton. I carried the Olympic torch to President Bush in 2002. And I met him again after the Olympics in 2002. These are all the opportunities that come my way since I was disabled. And believe me, I am fortunate to get to do what I get to do. And let's make sure that we get the word out there that there's a lot of folks out there that'll never have these opportunities, and we want to make sure that no one's left in the dark.
You got some heroes here.
Oh, that's Gina. She's an amazing lady. 2 kids and lost all 4 limbs, and she was a patient here. And she's just an inspiration to me and a role model. And Donnie got hit by a car, lost his leg and an arm. His mom and him are just an incredible duo. And the love a mother has for her son is incredible there. And Donnie volunteers hundreds of hours here at the university, and he's a hero, no doubt.
He's working down there at the Drayson Center now, I think.
And then Richard Devlander, born without his arms and legs, was abandoned because they thought he was cursed. He was given to a foster, or basically left on the side in a shoebox.
So he was born without
Arms
any limbs.
and legs. And now he's Assistant Deputy Director of Department of Rehabilitation for the state of California. And Brianna, she's just a superhero in my book, and just great attitude and spirit, and she personifies life after disability. She's not sitting on the sideline. She's amazing. And Akian, he's a kid who is probably, I don't want to go too deep into it, probably selling drugs when he was like 17 years old, lost both his legs, which people would say was a traumatic time of his life, hit a tree in a motorcycle accident, woke up and said, I'm changing my life, and he just did Ironman last year. He was 2nd place in the world, and changed his life completely. And so, yeah, he lost his legs, and he's one of the best athletes in the world now. We have a Rolling Bears basketball team, 6th in the nation. These guys are great role models. They go in and see the patients all the time. They show that, yes, there's life after disability. This is one of the best peer support groups we have, is these basketball players. We have a girls team, too.
How many do you have participating in that?
The basketball team has 20 on it. The rugby team has about 10. The rugby team is quadriplegic, tire injuries, and now we have a girls basketball team called the Lady Warriors. And these are the people that can go into the hospital and talk to people after they've struggled through something very difficult like a spinal cord injury and say, hey man, this is tough, it's not easy, but I'll tell you what, you can change the lives of people just by getting up, being strong, and being a role model. And that's what these folks do.
Every one of these we could have them on our program.
Oh, they're
because
amazing.
There's a story behind each one of them.
Every one of those, and Rudy and a bunch of these other guys. These people, these are very like the 1% of the disabled population, but they show what's possible and they do give hope to those others to come. And then with the kayaking with the soldiers, that's a big thing, that they know that, hey man, you can participate in life, you can be whatever you want to be. The sport aspect of what we do gives them a feeling of success. But we're social, psychological, spiritual, and academic, and physical. I mean, it's make man whole. We follow that model, and we want to make sure that spiritually you connect it with your maker. Do you realize that there's a plan here? Psychologically, let's get some counseling for you, bring you back. Socially, we don't want you to sit on the sideline. Physically, if you're in shape, your life is better. And academically, when you're disabled, you got to make sure you retrain to achieve the highest you can with what you have. And that's Make Man Whole, and that's Possibilities. And it's a great program.
So you're developing the full gamut of really to make man whole.
You're darn right.
That's what Possibilities is all about.
And my goal is not to make it man whole just in Loma Linda. It's to make man whole in this country and take this program on a national level, because this is national and worldwide. This is a program that can be a template for every rehabilitation hospital in the country. And luckily I have a boss who says he believes in the abundance theory. When you have something good, share it with people. Don't say, oh, this is mine. And if you truly care about people with disabilities, you will share what you have that is good with others.
So how many different programs do you have going right now?
Oh, we have events, large events, and we take people, we have a huge bike race coming up. We have our triathlon coming up. We do social outings to the Getty. We have season tickets to the Angels. I mean, we do all kinds of things. We want people to get out of the house. I just think, I don't know, when you're sitting around your house moping, how do you feel?
Oh, you're right. You've got to get involved and get out. Tell me again quickly some of the different programs you've got. You've got the basketball.
We got the wheelchair basketball team, which is called the Rolling Bears. We have the wheelchair rugby team, which is called the Crown Rugby, which is all the high-level spinal cord injuries. And they made a movie called Murder Ball a couple of years ago, and some of the guys do that. Great role models there. We do our social outings, our barbecues over here in the park. And then we do theater nights where we take people to the plays in town, and we're starting to provide transportation. We created the first ever Inland Empire Disability Resource Expo for jobs, employment, transportation, and I think mobility was in there, and durable medical equipment and stuff. We're trying to make sure that people know what's available to them when you become, especially a severe disability. You got to know what's going on in the community and take advantage of that. A lot of these families become broke, and then we do peer support where we create mentoring programs and where people can come over to the hospital at night, where we have round tables where we can just talk. And those are important things for people to get with like-minded people that have gone through some of the same things, so they can share their experiences and not fall in the same holes that other people have gone to. And then, like I said, the counseling part is huge. I mean, I went to counseling after I was hurt for almost 2 years. And I didn't
work your way through the whole thing.
I didn't think I needed it. I'm fine. You know what I mean? I'm tough. I'm a guy. And then I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I was a mess. I was a mess. And I said in that film, for 2 years, I was 19 years old, and for 2 years I was lost. And it was a simple little thing like make my bed and creating a little discipline in my life, and then slowly but surely defining who I am. And I knew that I wasn't a person to sit on the sidelines. But after I got hurt, I believe that's what the disabled were. You're disabled, you're broken down, and you're not valuable. And that's what I projected in myself. And it was all here. I was truly disabled from the neck up, and it wasn't my arm. It was the way I thought.
When people say life is not fair, what do you say?
I'm a big firm believer that unfairness sometimes is, you're lucky to be able to go through such a difficult test. And when you go through a test or you hit rock bottom, it's your obligation to bring others with you when you come up. And if we would all think that way, to grab others and bring them along, because some of us are stronger than others and some of us need more time than others. But if we can just put our hand out and grab them and bring them with you, that's the way I looked at it. And that's when I truly healed, is when I could help others.
And the matter of giving back, the different people you've been working with, many of them are getting involved and reaching out and helping others.
Oh yeah. I know the guys have climbed El Capitan, and the guys have, blind that climbed Everest and everything like that. And And you know, we had Floyd Landis here the other day that won the Tour de France. He wants to go out and ride with our group, you know. And my whole thing is, you can win as many championships as you want, but if you're not giving back to others, you'll be vacant. And I think around this community, at least I know it, people are far more concerned with how you give back than the championships you win.
That's far more important.
You know it.
Yeah, it's. If you had one word to tell the people that are able-bodied, what would you say?
You know, it's one word would be difficult, but you know, the program has hope in it. But the other thing that's really important, it's not about what you amass in your life. It's about what you do, you know, the steps you walk in, and the philosophies, especially with people who say they follow Christ. Well, if you truly do, you definitely would be working with a program like Possibilities and making sure that you give more to those that have less. I think that's what it's all about.
Giving back, getting involved, and well, you've started a remarkable program, and I know that in future editions here we're going to have some of those people that are heroes in the type of program you've been involved in. And you're getting the word out. You've had a phenomenal experience yourself, and as the Possibilities have been developed, it's already making a tremendous impact throughout the entire area, and it's really making mark all across the United States.
It's a really neat program. I'm fortunate and blessed to get to work in it, and I'd feel like if I wasn't working my tail off, that I wasn't doing what I was put here on this earth to do. So. Thanks.
Good point. We're so glad you're here with us, and look forward to future editions and having some of your heroes with us.
Thanks, Lynn.